So I'm going to review a little bit about naturalism, but then we're going to walk into postmodernism, which is probably the most interesting of the worldviews. Certainly, well, I'm going to say that anyway. So, I think it's the most interesting. Well, second time I dropped it, and I just bought it because I dropped the other ones. Okay. Okay, now we're starting. Hello. We were talking about naturalism. That it is both. I mean, it can be either. Wait a minute. Naturalism or materialism or humanism. All of them are the same sort of thing. And there's no hope, there's no God, there's science rules, and man is the center of all truth. And remember this word amoral. It's not immoral. Amoral means there's no moral code that everyone is bound to.
Amoral is to be.
It can be.
You're not being moral.
No, you can be amoral. It's just saying I don't have moral. You could be completely moral.
So if you can be amoral, you can be amoral. Listen, Roy, you can be amoral and be very moral because your code is very moral, but it's your code. It's not everyone's. That's what the belief is. There's no unifying code, like the Ten Commandments, Scripture, or whatever.
Not following. Well, they actually could be following traditional morality. They just are saying it's only because that's what my morality is, not what the overall morality is. They could be.
So personally, they're living any different than someone else, but they just don't know that everyone should. Anyway, okay. So there's no God, so there's no moral absolutes. The material world is studied through science as man's source for understanding and salvation. Why is it taking me too quick? The material world is studied through science, man's source for salvation. And utopia is possible because we can make it that way. One's value system is based on one's needs. And then actualizing human potential is the way to progress. The more we evolve, the better the world becomes. And they're not bound by accepted answers to questions. They can figure out their own answers, and that's just as valid as the accepted answers. Knowledge is based on reason and proof, not on faith in Christ. Okay, so I want to move. So the 5 life questions: where did we come from? We're all a purposeless accident. It was all an accident. Why is there such a mess in the world? Because people don't see the world rightly. So I'm going to play a clip. It's a humanist clip. I'm going to have to pause this, or else I'll get nicked by YouTube. But this is a movie called A Beautiful Mind. It's a true story based on a true story of a man named John Nash, who was a very famous mathematician, Princeton schooled. And he won the Nobel Prize. He won a Nobel Prize, I think, for mathematics. And this is his speech there. And this is all true. It's a movie about him. But this is his closing speech, and I want you to pick out why this is humanist or naturalist. So what did you see of the humanistic worldview in that speech? Yes.
That it was a focus on like his logically sound and that's what on
That was his meaning, right?
Yeah, that
was
was
where
his
he
meaning.
found
His reason on his reason every single thing he said he believed he was counting on.
Yep. Hobby.
He said he like searched through the physical and the metaphysical, which obviously as Christians we also believe that there's like a spiritual world. So he's like saying like, oh, like, that's not something you search for when you're searching for some sort of like meaning or importance at all. So he's like only talking about the natural physical world.
No, yeah, he didn't find meaning, he didn't find truth in any of those other pursuits he found in her. Yes.
His main fulfilling achievement was based on like self-actualization, so it wasn't about any connection to something beyond what's temporary. It was just like his knowledge for existing as
Yep. All really, really good answers. Yes.
So, the person in the audience that the camera kept focusing on, that anyone important, or was that?
That's the woman who does his reason?
Okay, so is she his wife or something?
I don't know.
Or,
I mean, something. No, probably wife or girlfriend or whatever. But no matter, I mean, she was the reason for his life and the means. Okay, so I told you. Oh, wow. Can't get rid of it.
No, keep
Keep it.
yeah, keep it. No.
Just keep your
Goodbye, John Nash. No. Okay, let's move on to postmodernism. This one I think is the most interesting and the hardest one to wrap our brains around. So the postmodernist is culture driven, and you will, as we walk through this, you will see this in our culture. Most people believe that at this time, the primary culture of the Western world, not just the United States, is postmodernism, and you will see that as we go through this. So it's culture driven. Are we culture driven? Your generation absolutely 100% is culture driven. My children don't necessarily, I think Josh don't really understand that I am not in my 20s. And for a long time, they kept wanting to show me these viral videos that they thought were hilarious or whatever. And I'm like, I am a grown woman. I do not want to spend my time watching these silly videos. They're just silly. But that is very much a culture driven worldview, isn't it? And I'm not saying they're bad. I'm just saying they're not worthwhile. So there's no purpose, there's no God, there's no self-rule, there's no peace, there's no truth, there's no, everything is experiential. And then that word amoral again, it doesn't necessarily mean immoral, but it is, there's no moral code that is beholden, that everyone is beholden to. And God is outside of the picture. So I'm gonna leave that there. I'm gonna tell you a few things about postmodernism. We won't get real far in this, but I want to give you some background on how we got here, and then tomorrow I'll show you a bunch of stuff in our culture that is postmodern and will make sense to you because you've got the background. So there's no belief in a transcendent God. Postmodernism rejects the idea of a grand narrative. Do you remember one of the first days when I did that thing on it, and it was creation, fall, redemption? That's a grand narrative. That's a story of how we got here. That is the meta narrative of the Christian worldview. Postmodernism would say there's no unifying story. There's no story that explains why we're here, who we are. There's no story that tells you. You just got to figure that out for yourself, who you are. It's very individual. It isn't cooperative. Yes?
It sounds objectively subjective, however, however oxymoron that is.
Yeah, I can see that. Yeah, and it is an oxymoron, but that makes sense once you know more about postmodernism. They're skeptical and suspicious of anything that smacks with tradition or this is how we do it. Now, I will tell you that one of the phrases I don't, and it doesn't make me a postmodern, that I really don't like is, well, we've always done it that way. The reason I don't like it is, well, fine, if that's still the best way to do it. But just because you've always done it this way doesn't make it the best way to do it. It just means you've always done it this way. But postmodernists go farther than that. There's no accepted way to do anything. You figure out the accepted way for you. They're skeptical, they're suspicious, and then there's this word deconstruction is very is at the heart of postmodernism. So deconstruction began as a philosophical movement a long time ago. It was actually used in literary criticism. Like there's no way for you to see this book. There's no one way to view this book. It's the way you view it is just as good as the way somebody else does, which makes it really easy to get good grades in English because, well, that's my interpretation. However bad or good it is, or however close it is to what the author intended. So that's deconstruction, and it was a theory of literary criticism. And it questions the assumptions we have. It questions things like certainty, identity, and truth. And here's where I hope some of you know this. I just did the Roadrunner quiz with the, yeah. And remember how afraid you were when I said you have a quiz today? And they were the same way. They're like, what? You didn't tell us, and oh, I forgot. No, I didn't. That's true for you, but it's not true for me, right? That's very much part of this idea. Like you find your own truth, and whatever that is, that's true for you. But y'all know, and you don't, but you're about to find out, that if it's true for everyone, everywhere, all the time. That's the definition of truth. But a postmodernist would say there is no such thing as that kind of truth. There's individual truths for people. So even that idea of truth is being deconstructed. It questions traditional assumptions about certainty and identity and truth, and it's bled over into other things. It isn't just a literary thing, and it isn't just a thing that really smart people like to talk about. It has bled into media, into architecture. You're going to see a building that was built by postmodernists, and it's crazy. Ethics and other things. There's no assumed or ultimate meaning in anything. It's just neurons doing their thing. There's no assumed or ultimate meaning in anything. It's even bled into the church. There are certain parts of Christianity that want to deconstruct the Bible. Because if you're a postmodernist, the Bible's saying everybody has to believe it. This is what is true. And a postmodernist doesn't want that. And so deconstruction is interpreting the Bible in a way that it fits for you. And there are no moral absolutes. Each person decides their own standards. And we see this in our culture, do we not? The gender you were assigned at birth, not an actual gender. They, them, theirs, which is plural, not singular. We are singular people, right? We see that. The deconstruction of marriage. So I know you're going to think this is ancient history. Someday you won't see it. My mother went to a wedding shower for a couple that was her best friend's nephew and his fiance. The guy wasn't there because back then the guy brought up and the guy didn't want to be there. And I submit that really guys really don't want to be there even now, but sometimes there's a couple showers. So because boys don't want to play games, like, we had a kind of a Jeopardy wedding shower a week and a half ago, and there was this kind of Jeopardy game about AJ and guys are like, this is stupid. But my team won. I had a little bit of a leg up, but not about AJ so much. So we what was I saying?
Deconstruction of marriage.
Okay, marriage. Thank you very much. That's very helpful. So, and the wedding jar. Now we're back. Okay, so this is, and I know, like 1975 for you, or 74, or whatever it was, seems like a long time ago. But trust me, when you get that far away from 2023, you're going to be like, wow, that happened. So she got some towels at this wedding shower. And she said, she opened it up, she said, oh, this is so great, we need more towels because Bobby uses 3 towels every time he takes a shower.
Wait, what? Dude, that is so valid.
Which was a clue that they were living together.
Oh.
And everyone there was like, now it's just like, in our culture. Is that not normal?
I kind of been talk about my fiance.
Yeah, but she knew from experience. So here's the thing. The idea that in just that amount of time that couples should wait until marriage was accepted. That was the accepted moral code. And that's not true anymore. It's expected that couples will move in together because they say that they can make sure that it's going to work out. Do you know that living together before marriage makes you more likely? Because especially if you live with someone, break up, you're practicing to break up. So our culture has changed in so many ways with all of these things, with deconstruction and postmodernism. Subjective feelings direct one's life, and I don't want to talk about it. So then the other part of this is this idea of utilitarianism. Does anybody know this word utilitarianism? What does it mean?
My parents told me about it. It's basically the idea that things you gain that you can use. It's supposed to be something about what you use in a way of looking at life. Everything that we do to make more, right? Something like that.
Yeah, you're close. It's it's not a belief. It's an idea that we should do what is best for the most amount of people. So you're not doing what is best for the individual people, you're taking that. Now, I'm going to give you an example that you will understand. You remember a number of years ago when public schools changed the school lunch and everybody got the same lunch? So that's utilitarianism. So the 250-pound lineman got the same lunch as the 98-pound cheerleader, which caused, I won't name the school, but a school, a coach, a football coach at a school that I am familiar with, he brings bread and peanut butter and jelly. He has it stashed so his football players could eat more than that little teeny lunch. It's not about doing what's best for Riley and for Lily and for Holly. It's best for the most amount of people. But that leaves all of you out.
I think communism. No, actually,
Communism is yeah, it's a little part of it.
but it's a little different though.
I can't hear him.
It's more of like what's that moral, like very common moral dilemma with the trains? Isn't that where like that is shown? Like the more you would probably choose to kill less people because it's better off. And like when it comes to quantity.
And that can be a quandary in a real life situation where you have to make that choice.
Right.
But
But
this is just universally making that choice when it doesn't happen.
Exactly. But that's what I mean. That's the difference between socialism is everybody the same, but utilitarianism is kind of like for most people.
Theoretically, socialism, everyone's the same. Where the way it ends up working is there's the vast majority of people have almost nothing. But I'm telling you, those guys in the Kremlin, they had plenty of food to eat.
Yeah.
They didn't have to wait in line for bread.
But
They didn't, have to go without toothpaste. So it doesn't really work out that way. Yes, Allie.
What is a meta-narrative?
A meta-narrative is an overarching story that explains how we're here. So our meta-narrative is creation, fall, redemption. Okay, so what else was I going to do? If it feels good, if it makes sense to me, do it. That's what's good for you is good for you. Do it, and everyone does their thing. So there's no. It says it seeks the soul and spirit, but that's not really true. It prefers the experiential to the rational, or definitely to anything spiritual, because there's no spiritual world. So I don't know why the book says that. And this is the last thing we'll talk about. And postmodernism, in its purest form, leads to a life without hope. And we see this in our culture about hopelessness. I told you what Brenda Council said, that to a person who lives in hopelessness, consequences mean nothing. And so it leads to meaninglessness. So this is the word for that. I want to make sure this button's going correctly. Nihilism. It leads to nihilism, which is a black. It's meaningless. Everything is meaningless. There's no true meaning in life, and that too is very postmodern. It's that. it's hopelessness. That there's no real meaning in life.
Does it mean an acceptance of that fact?
Yes. Do we see this in our culture?
Yeah.
How do we see it? How do we see nihilism in our culture? Yeah.
Just emptiness of death. Doesn't go anywhere.
I'm thinking about why do we have to have a plan for an active shooter? Though, and it's almost always young, and there's no hope. So they're going to go down in the place of that's nihilism. What?
So you're talking about like a bubble.
No, I'm just seeing how we see nihilism in our culture. Like how does it work itself out? And that's what you're gonna say. Oh, sure.
I think I see that a lot in the type of music that's gets pushed today. Just
Okay,
especially.
excuse me. You might not want to listen, but nobody can listen.
I think if you like the type of music that's popular today, especially in more kind of like it's super popular, then there's no hope in that.
I've had students tell me all the time for the last 30 years, well, yeah, I listen to it, but it doesn't affect me. It does, even if you don't realize it. Yes. Mm. I'm not going to tell you this story now because I'm going to tell it to you in another month or so. But I'm going to give you a personal example of my thinking something didn't have an effect on, and my aha moment actually. So just trust me now. If that is what you're watching, what you're listening to, what you feed into your brain will come out in your life. If you're feeding into your brain things that which is lovely and you know all those things you know that the Bible says that are true and that are godly, that will come out in your life. If you're going to fill your brain and your eyes and your ears with that which is meaningless and says that life has no meaning and that's simple, that will come out. And I'm not just saying that's you. That's anyone. That's Bible teachers. And that's part of what postmodernism has done. Yes.
I think when it comes to but there's also a level of discernment that you have to grow because there are some things that are just they're just gonna get it, right? Like you're bound to see something you never wanted to see in this world. And so I think that with maturity becomes more discernible. I would agree that teenagers have a problem with music because they just haven't developed that ability to okay, what are they actually saying here? Do I trust this? You know, if they make that process, the music doesn't affect them. But the issue is that we have such a short-sighted culture nowadays that people don't really care to find the root of the problem. As long as it sounds good, whether that be in music or an argument or anything people say nowadays, as long as it sounds good and is funny or is it seems like it's right, they don't do any other further investigation. No one knows why they believe anything because they just choose on
That's what you said.
Sort of. It was like a rebuttal to the atheist over here. Because when he was talking about like processing stuff and deciding that no, I don't want to see that, I'm never gonna listen to that music again or whatever. That's I believe how rejected. Like I think it's repetition is more the point that she's going after. Yeah, like actively repeating listening to that music or whatever else. That's what I believe causes it to actually sink in. Like I can tell you some random math fact that you're not going to learn for 5 years, and you're not going to remember it unless I drill it into your brain.
But it will, I mean, you might not ever do that thing, right, whatever they're saying, but it will have an impact.
Yeah, that's the point. When you repeat it, that's what I think. When you need it.
Yeah, I'm gonna move on to Rowie.
I would say also on the contrary, a lot of people who are Christian or are Christian are really delving into cancel culture now. I've seen these are bands where not this person but sound like his music. So you can if you like this genre of music but don't know this soft person, you can listen to this stuff. There's a lot of misplaced introspectiveness that's going on. You're looking into who is wrong rather than what is right. And instead of finding one moral ground and sticking to it, they're just figuring out who's hurting someone else.
Story, and then there's really quick story. When I went to college, I became a disc jockey at the school radio program, and I found out that there was a Christian Sunday afternoon was a Christian program, so I wanted to do that. And so I met with the guy. His name is Jay, and he started asking me the people that I listened to. They were all very easy listening singers because I knew that my music was fueling my rebellion against my parents and against God, so I knew I needed different music. But I didn't know there was such a thing as Christian rock. So he asked me who I like, and I'm naming all these people. And he says, "Ever heard of Long? Ever heard of Grace? Ever heard of Resurrection Band? No." Yes. And he sent me home with a stack of records, and it was just like, what just happened? And it was like God, because I literally got rid of my albums. Some of them that were especially bad, I broke, and I put them into pieces and threw them away. And God gave it back to me, pressed down, running over, right? And so that can happen. Like you can decide to like that genre, but what is being filled in your mind? Yes.
So another question is like, so especially like now as teenagers, a lot of us have jobs. But how do you suggest we like defend ourselves against things we don't necessarily have control? I think comes to my mind is like foul. Like especially in a lot of our workplaces, we work in second. I work at a restaurant. So how do you suggest that we fight against that? Was it's not our choice to take that, but it's happening for us.
I don't think you can do what I do when that happens. I see please don't say that. Please don't say that. It usually doesn't stop. Okay. But you can choose to use. I mean, I think people notice when you don't use. But if you're really great, you can say, especially if it's. That's offensive. But you probably won't care. But you can speak up. And do that. But the more you're around that, the more it's going to come back. You have no enough listen. only that, which was profitable for 30 years. So, yeah. And I know, I'm going to tell you a very quick story. I think I told you this. When Lane was a junior, and we were at the class, I had this grand idea of freaking out the kids after lunch, with all of us standing in the hallway, like at attention. And as the kids came out, they were all like, "What's going on? What?" And it was perfect. It was great. It was a great stuff. So we get home, and Lane says to me, "Mom, you don't know what happens in those hallways. In that hallway." And I said, "Really?" And don't think our teachers don't. That's a change of goal. Okay, I'll keep going. Let's do
Yeah, I